This is Fishing in Germany, and in this is a third segment of a video series for beginning pike fishing. And in this series, I want to go over how to fish with deadbait. I had a bit of a dilemma because I didn't have any deadbait. Usually I use a roach or a small chub or something like that. I don't have anything on hand right now. So I do have these, which I'll try to demonstrate on. I got these. I bought a tackle box used, and these were in there. I don't know how old they are. They look pretty old. These are shiners, but they should work okay for this demonstration of how I'll bait with dead fish. Now we're going to need a few things. You're going to need your bait. In this case, it's kind of sad, but it'll work. I hope. Maybe it'll disintegrate. For your setup, you're going to need weight. Depending on where you're fishing, it might need to be lighter or heavier, but a sliding weight. A swivel, which I don't have here, but yeah, you know what a swivel is. And a wire tracer. That's very important so the pike don't bite through it. This one has a treble hook attached already. Size, I'm not even sure. I can't remember what size it is, to be honest. But let's see if I can compare it to something like a Bic lighter. Size around there usually is fine. The pike have big mouths, so you don't be afraid of the hook being so big. You have two options in doing this way. On such a small bait, this is really small. I usually use a pretty good sized fish. Probably like 3 times the size of this is fine. If it's a bigger fish, I'm going to actually have another treble hook that's not attached to any line. I'll show you why in a minute. And finally, a baiting needle. Baiting needle, it's just this long needle with a eye at the end to grab thread through. All right, so what I'm going to do is take the end of the tracer and attach it to the baiting needle. Which I don't have the best light in here. It's a little tricky. All right, so get it through the needle. And now pike generally will, this is a really small example, but they generally like to attack at the middle of the fish and then flip it in the mouth, like so. Whether you want this first hook at the mouth end or the tail end is up to you. In this case, it's so small, I'll probably be better off putting it towards the head, just because how it's going to maybe fall apart when I put the needle through. Normally, I actually will put it through the first hook at the very end of the lead is towards the tail, and that's where I'll thread the needle through. So in this case, it's a little strange since it's a very small dried up bait. So I'm going to try to, actually I'll see if I can just go through the eye. And yeah, it works. Just be careful you don't stab your fingers. And I'll thread it through, and normally with a bigger bait, I'm going to thread it like just partially through. And this is really dry. Little, like halfway through, try this again. And then out through the midsection of the body, like that. If I'm just going to use one hook, I'll go all the way down as far as I can towards the tail. But this is a method I normally use. Now let's see if I can pull the eye through. Okay, works. I pull that all the way through to the hook. And now, instead of just, this is where the second hook will come in. I'm going to thread the needle through that second hook. Tight fit, but I'll get it. Get that on the leader, on your tracer. And normally with that second hook, what I'm going to do is put it somewhere in the midsection of the body. Usually just one hook right into the side, like so. and when I pull it, then I'm going to thread it through again through the base. I'll go ahead and do that just for the sake of the video. I think I need pliers for this since the fish is very dried up and old. I'm actually going to try to fish with this, so I'm just going to go ahead and set this up and have it ready for next time. Alright. Pull it through. And then, this is an overkill with 2 hooks because this is such a small bait. Normally I'll just stick one barb into the midsection of the fish. Like that, and pull it tight. Alright, so now I have that spot covered. Let's see if I can turn it the other way. I have that spot covered in the middle where they're going to attack, and then when they try to flip it in their mouth, that spot's there too. So, like I said, normally I'm going to use a much bigger bait fish for this. I'm going to go ahead and take this middle one out. It's an overkill for this size of a fish. And I would actually re-thread it through. I want to have the line going as much through the fish as I can, basically like that. I'd go straight through in this case and have that hook by the head. Alright, so this way we're gonna be kind of bottom fishing. I'm gonna give myself a couple feet at least from where the swivel is to where the sliding weight is. That's gonna, allow it to float off the bottom a little bit and move around. And this is kind of more of a static version of fishing where you're kind of leaving it and hoping a pike comes along. So what I'll also do is, ideally underwater, this is kind of floating up from the weight, this camera bit. So we have this kind of thing going. And ideally I'll just kind of every once in a while give it a twitch, move it around, get some action, and I'll cast out to a spot I think is good and keep every few minutes just twitch it, bring it back in a little bit, just a couple reels, and do that over and over. That's somewhat static though, it's still kind of staying in the same spot. The other option is using a float, which I'll do a separate video on. But yeah, it's a poor example of a fish to use, but like I said, I think I'm actually going to just keep this set up as, well, I'll fix this little thing here. I'm going to try this. I don't know what I'll get off of this little dried out fish, but I think I might be able to get something. So I'm going to just do it over again one more time for the sake of demonstration. Pull this out. And if I'm going to use something that small, because that's the thing, sometimes catching bait fish is harder than catching the damn pike. If it's that time of year or just a bad day, there's no bait fish to catch. Some spots I go to, there's just simply no good sized bait fish because there's a lot of catfish, the Wells catfish, that ate everything that size. A lot of times if I do catch a roach that's a good size for a bait fish, or a small chub or something like that, I'll keep it and throw it in the freezer. That's where the baiting needle actually is more important, because those fish, after they're frozen, they disintegrate easier and they'll come flying off your hook. This way they stay on a lot longer. So now what I'm going to do is just try to thread this needle. I'm going to use pliers because this fish is so dry and not so pliable. I'm going to feed that needle all the way down the center of the fish. All the way out by the tail. And one second, get this eye through, and there we go. All right. So now I have it set up just like that. Normally I'll use a lot bigger bait, but I wouldn't be surprised to catch something off of this. I'll give it a try. We'll see what happens. I'm going to just throw that in my tackle box as is. Use it next time I go fishing. Try it with the bottom fishing method. And like I said, the next video I'm going to show you how to do the same kind of setup but using a float. And like I said, if you just throw it out and set it there, leave it there, you might get something, but it can be very slow that way. A lot of times too, I'll find I bring in my bait and it's all eaten up. Usually the fluce crabs, the crayfish have eaten it, or eels can do that too. Normally you're going to feel an indication. With crayfish you won't feel anything. They're just sitting there devouring your bait. You pull in a fish skeleton after a while. So one really good method is for static fishing, when you're just leaving the line out there, is every couple minutes just twitch it a little bit, move it around, because the pike likes, when they see that movement, they get attracted to it. They are predatory fish, but they also like to take advantage of an easy free meal. So dead baiting, I think in the winter, is a very good tactic, more so than using lures when the fish are slower and they're trying to preserve more energy. So they see a nice, easy, just wounded or dead fish, they will eat it. They're not shy of that stuff. I'll cast into those areas where I think that looks good, like a good habitat for a pike to be sitting, and keep moving it, twitching it every few minutes, you know. And once I get it closer to the bank, cast again. Try different spots, you know, to cast out in like a fan shape, and eventually you will get one if you keep trying this. Thanks for watching, and the last clip I'm going to go into using a float for this method.